One really neat way to make better designs is to take a design trend and then apply it to your work in an original way. For example here, the designer of the CBD product has used the folk botanical trend, but in a kind of line art style with a holographic foil finish. Or what about this design here that incorporates that sort of cyberpunk gradient style that has been quite trendy in the past? But actually here we see it across a business card that is made to look like a movie ticket. And this just looks totally awesome if you ask me. But yeah, take a trend or a kind of a design approach and then apply it in a creative and a new manner. It's a great way to make great designs. Sometimes you get a design brief, you look at it and you think, how the hell am I going to pull this one off? It might be that the information or message you need to express in your design is complicated. But don't worry, because this is where the next psychological technique comes into play. The topic of war and how to overcome war is quite a controversial topic and it's quite complicated to actually make a design for. But this design here simply uses visual metaphors to get the message across. When using visual metaphors, it's wise to include very few other elements and just allow the metaphor to speak for itself. Like here, this very clever design uses a Google Map graphic to suggest a teardrop down the face. Again, very clever and very simple. Visual metaphors also really resonate very well with audiences, and this makes your design more efficient, higher quality without doing a whole lot, to be honest. When you're working on a poster, a website design, a flyer, anything that might actually use large typography, think of the typography not so much as words, but more of a design object. And here's what I mean by that. On a design like this one here, we can see the typography on the left here has moved more towards being an aesthetic design element as opposed to informative words. We can read it of course, but it's become more of a part of the design itself. And then here the word pixel has managed to act as a background, as a means to frame an image, and then just to finish off the design aesthetically speaking. The typography has been elevated up from just words to read, and the designer has actually considered it as a design asset. If you've ever worked on projects that are for health products, or designs where you simply wanted the audience to feel good and accept your work, you probably would have wanted to know what I'm going to say right now. Biophilia. Yes, it sounds like a gnarly disease of some kind, but actually, it's a tool that you can use to bring certain designs up to that next level of professionalism. Biophilia is the innate tendency for humans to seek connections with nature, and in turn, this makes us feel happy and content. It can be as simple as adding a product next to natural elements to express the message that this is in fact a natural product, or placing a new car deep in the wilderness. Look how pure and how open the landscape seems here. The designer wants the viewer to feel like this car will bring them to freedom in nature. And if you then take the same car and place it in an urban environment, then you give off a very different feeling with the design. This psychological trick, this technique, won't be relevant or useful in every single design or project, but the next thing I'm going to show you can be used on every single design. This design for McDonald's Mobile is one of my favourite designs that I've seen this year. Shame is promoting fast food though, right? But one key psychological design technique this genius designer has used is personalization. Personalization is simply tailoring a design to the individual viewer, and this can create a sense of personal connection and relevance, which makes your designs Einstein tier. And designers can use specific things such as names, locations, and specific imagery, and this will personalize the design, as you've seen here for the Mackie D's design. The designer has cleverly made a burger from mobile phones, and that relates back to the act of ordering food, fast food, online. This advert, it actually targets mobile users, so it's really smart with a capital S. Now if your audience are wealthy, business-orientated people, consider incorporating high-quality imagery of materials such as expensive leather, use elegant typography, and opt for refined color palettes that evoke a sense of luxury and sophistication. But if your audience are teenagers, use bold and vibrant colors mixed with pop cultural references. Simply just look at ways that you can speak their language and personalize your designs just for them. So when we use adjustment layers on an image or a design, we are working in a non-destructive workflow, right? And that's because we can delete this layer any moment and our design will actually be untouched. However, the changes we make on this layer, in this instance the levels, can sometimes look too harsh or just not natural and organic for our image. Instead, once you've made the layer, head up to Image and then Apply Image. I tend to keep the blend mode to normal and I use these settings here. Now our adjustment layer looks different as you can see here, and when we make changes now, those alterations will blend into our image a lot smoother and it won't be as jarring or as drastic. This works with any kind of adjustment layer in Photoshop, and it's something that you probably should start using in your workflows in the right situation. So save your design and then make a copy. On the copy, apply a Gaussian blur effect to something like this degree here. Now you'll be able to see or visualize the white space without any bias and look at the composition objectively. Sometimes doing this will actually reveal a poor design choice, and it's sort of like that method of unfocusing your eyes, but in a more methodical approach. What's actually going on here? What am I doing to this typography? This is one of the easiest ways to make your designs more original and visually better, and that is to simply customize your typography. Some brands such as Netflix have actually made an entire typeface for themselves. Samsung did the same as well with the typeface Samsung One. The key is to know when customizing typography is actually a good idea, and that's often when the typography is a focal point or a big part of your design. It can be a logo design or perhaps a bunch of posters as seen here. When we customize a typography, we're actively making something new and original. And when done correctly, this can look really, really neat. It's also kind of fun and it will tap into your creative and artistic side. We're stepping back into Photoshop for a quick lifesaver. Sometimes we want to collapse all layers into a finished design, but that isn't always a good idea because then we won't actually be able to make changes to the design in the future. So a quick and a handy keyboard shortcut is to press Command or Control, plus Alt, Shift, and then E. This will give you a new layer that is essentially your design collapsed down. You'll also still have the existing layers, so yeah, this is pretty cool. The next psychological trick graphic designers use can be used in two different ways. So here's a branding project for models with minds. The logo for the brand itself uses a psychological trick that I'm going to talk about right now. And can you actually notice anything in particular with this logo? But one key aspect of this logo design is that it's symmetrical. This plays into the psychological technique of aesthetic appeal. Aesthetic appeal can be used on a design to influence people or make them feel good simply through visuals. Designers carefully consider factors such as symmetry, balance, and visual harmony to create visually pleasing designs. But it can go way further than that. Take a look here at this marketing material for Jean-Paul Gaultier. I mean, it couldn't be more superficial if it tried, right? But it uses a trick that plays on the human mind. Harvard University talks about how when we see quote-unquote attractive people, our brains release dopamine and feel-good hormones. So designers know this, and then they use it to make people feel good just through visual stimuli. But there is a complete flip side to this. Sometimes you might want the audience to feel the opposite reaction. The key difference can be seen between the old smoking adverts where smoking was seen as a good thing and when conventionally attractive models were used. Then later, when smoking has now been seen as negative, models with no makeup on and that are not conventionally attractive are used so that a viewer subconsciously wants to distance themselves from the topic. Sounds crazy, I know, and it does sound shallow as well, and it probably is. But this is a tried and a tested method in graphic design, but also marketing. But yeah, aesthetic appeal can be the design itself in terms of symmetry, balance, and all that good stuff. But also it could be the human form. But there are a lot more psychological techniques that graphic designers use and different ways to apply them. And to learn more about that, just click the video on screen. And until next time guys, design your future today. Peace.